indie short review. Some of you like the snappy snappy and the clappy clappy from the last one, so I thought I'd do it again. Maybe we can get this going and we can have a consistent intro. What about an outro? Fun fact about me, I love me some gothic horror, I love me some period drama, Victorian. History fascinates me, always has. The Victorian era, especially. In particular, the mysteries. Jack the Ripper is a story that over a century later still continues to fascinate. We still don't know who he was. Or do we? I haven't missed something, have I? No. I have not. The story of Jack the Ripper has also been endlessly fictionalized, and one of those fictionalizations comes from Bradley Harper with his book A Knife in the Fog. A Knife in the Fog imagines a scenario where three real-life historical figures come together to confront the infamous Whitechapel murders, and enter director James Mansell to bring this story to life on the screen. Leviathan stars Matthew Lloyd Davis, Rafe Bird, and Lauren Cornelius as Joseph Bell, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Margaret Harkness. Three prominent figures of the Victorian era. Margaret Harkness was a journalist and a former nurse. Joseph Bell was a renowned surgeon, and Arthur Conan Doyle was a writer who took inspiration from Joseph Bell to write the character of Sherlock Holmes. And also Joseph Bell happens to be the great-great-great-grandfather of this film's director, James Mansell.
Wow.
I mean, how cool is that? What a cool claim to fame that is. All I have is Stavros Flatley from Britain's Got Talent 2009. Love you guys. Joseph Bell also had a very sharp eye and an impressive mind, and it made him a valuable asset to police forces at the time. So this unlikely trio all bring their individual expertise into a case where they are examining the latest victim of Jack the Ripper. And there's quite an interesting dynamic that's created between the three, because obviously it's the Victorian era, and so women are used to having to fight for their voices and fight for their spaces in spaces and in rooms. And Margaret Harkness comes in ready to do just that. She comes in ready to dominate that room. Harkness comes in on the defensive, and she's determined to make sure that the men's judgment isn't clouded by the sexist thinking of the time. And she also has a very specific interest in the people living on the brink of society, the people on the streets, the poor, and the nameless, the people that are, I suppose, forgotten. And obviously Jack the Ripper targeted a certain group of women, and she's determined to make sure that they're not just seen as another unfortunate. She wants everyone to know that these women were real people with real lives, real names, personalities, and that they weren't just a number or a statistic. So in that way, she brings a very human empathy to the story and to the unfolding events. All three actors, of course, play their roles so well, and ultimately this short film could rival any big budget production. Ultimately, what Leviathan feels like is the opening sequence to a much longer film or a series. It sets the characters, it sets the foundations of a good story, it sets the characters' motives, and it sets the tone. And it really does end with you wanting so much more. Even the closing credits are stylized and make it look like the opening credits of your next favorite binge-worthy series. I know that binge watching is like a big cultural thing now, but I could never do it. After 2 or 3 episodes, I have to do something else. But I know people who sit and watch like a whole season in a day. How do you do that? Makes me think of a funny story about my dad, actually. There was a time when my dad was not working, so he had left one job and he had 1 week before he started another one. And so he was just at home, he had nothing to do, and this man sat in his chair, and I remember leaving for school in the morning, and he was watching Breaking Bad, and then I came back from school in the afternoon, and he was still in that same chair watching Breaking Bad, and I said, "What are you doing? How long have you been sitting here?" And he went, "I've watched 11 episodes." And I was like, what? And that was actually a big win for my sister and I. My sister and I introduced my dad to Breaking Bad. We started watching it first, and he caught up with us, obviously, in no time. I remember when we got him to watch the first episode. You know that time when you recommend a show to someone and you're sitting there looking at them the whole time. You want to see their reaction, gauge their reaction. My dad was emotionless through the whole of the first episode. Absolutely nothing. And then it ended and we were sat there just like, you know, waiting for him to say something. And he looked at us and he just goes, "Well, what are you doing? Put on the next one then." And we were like, ah. Got him. Got him! Anyway, that's a fun memory of my dad. And also another thing, I don't know about you guys, but I never skip the opening credits. Do you skip the opening credits? I never skip the opening credits of a series because it puts you in the mood. And some of them are so good now, like artistically now. They feel like a part of the show. I mean, there are so many iconic ones. Game of Thrones, Daredevil, Shogun's a great one, Mask Girl. If you haven't seen Mask Girl on Netflix, the Korean series, highly recommend it. But sorry, back to Leviathan. This short is so good, it's so compelling, and like I said, it rivals any big budget production. The costumes, the atmosphere, the acting, the dialogue, the writing, everything just screams, I need a feature length treatment. It achieves more in mood and character in 15 minutes and a single room than a lot of other movies or shows achieve in much longer than that. Leviathan is rich, it's dialogue heavy, it's atmospheric, and it makes me desperately want to see more. Whilst I was writing this review, I watched it over on a loop, like 6 times, and every time I enjoyed myself. James Mansell is already making waves in the short film space. He's had multiple of them by now. I'll leave a link to his website in the description below, and Leviathan proves just how ready he is to step into more prominent spaces. Oh no, that was clappy snappy. It was snappy snappy. Thank you for watching this edition of Indie Spotlight with Outside the Spotlight. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more movie content, indie features. I upload to the shorts every other day, and I upload these videos. I aim for once a week every Sunday. I skipped last week because I was away, but I'll try and keep this as consistent as I can. So subscribe if you want to be a part of this developing community and journey and stuff. Also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and that's it. And subscribe to this channel as well. And visit www.outsidethespotlight.com for the full written review of Leviathan, as well as many other independent films that we're building, and also a couple of mainstream films on there as well. I reviewed The Phoenician Scheme, Tornado, Mickey 17. Also, you can find Outside the Spotlight on Letterboxd. We love a bit of Letterboxd. I'm waiting for the day that Letterboxd approaches me for my top 4. But until that day comes, I do have a video on my Instagram and on the shorts on YouTube, actually, that I talk about my top 4. Because that's fun. We love our Letterboxd top 4s. Anyway, see you later. Mwah.